Next, the researchers wanted to figure out how much current they needed to apply to the human scalp to reduce those electrical fields inside the brain. Next, wanted the researchers wanted to figure out how much current they needed to apply to the human scalp to produce those electrical fields inside the brain. Electrical fields inside the brain. Next, the researchers wanted to figure out how much current they needed to apply to the human scalp to produce those electrical fields inside the brain. The Office of Personnel Management was the target of the attack, but data from nearly every government agency was stolen. U.S. investigators say they believe Chinese hackers were behind the breach. The breach. The Office of Personnel Management was the attack. The Office of Personnel Management was the target of the attack, but data from nearly every government agency was stolen. U.S. investigators say they believe Chinese hackers were behind the breach. What? In practice, McCann tries to develop a worldwide campaign in order to expand the scope of activities and invite new customers. He tries to spread the Coca-Cola production throughout the globe in order to achieve the good place on the global market. Moreover, he always pays attention to the work of the competitors in order to remain on top. Finally, McCann knows how to organize the work within the company and motivate employees to do their best. Tries. In practice, McCann tries to develop a worldwide campaign in order to expand the scope of activities and invite new customers. He tries to spread the Coca-Cola production throughout the globe in order to achieve a good place on the global market. Moreover, he always pays attention to the work of the competitors in order to remain on top. Finally, McCann knows how to organize the work within the company and motivate employees to do their best. The definition of the disaster varies by organization. Various entities have different pain thresholds that define when an accident becomes a disaster. A bank, for example, will have different criteria than a poison control hotline. With this fact in mind, any organization should begin the process of implementing first alert and response teams after it has completed a business impact analysis. The definition of a disaster varies by organization. Various entities have different pain thresholds that define when an accident becomes a disaster. A bank, for example, will have different criteria than a poison control hotline. With this fact in mind, any organization should begin the process of implementing first alert and response teams after it has completed a business impact analysis. As far as politics goes, the responses are just as varied. Mitigation is common and calls for the reduction of emissions and less reliance on fossil fuels. Coal burning power plants are now replaced with hydraulic power plants, and electric cars are replacing some gasoline efficient cars. Many people, however, feel that this is not enough. This is this is not enough. The responses are just very mitigation is common. As far as politics goes, the responses are just as varied. Mitigation is common and calls for a reduction of emissions and less reliance on fossil fuels. Coal-burning power plants are now replaced with the hydraulic power plant. Electric cars are replacing some gasoline-efficient cars. Many people, however, feel that this is not enough. Most peasants remained self-sufficient and skeptical about money, and with good reason. The triumph of capitalism probably made them worse off. They now had to deal with a centralized imperial state that was collecting taxes more efficiently, giving more power to landlords, and slowly reducing customary peasant rights to land then reduce. Most peasants remained self-sufficient and skeptical about money, and with good reason. The triumph of the capitalism probably made them worse off. Most peasants remained self-sufficient and skeptical about money, and with good reason. The triumph of capitalism probably made them worse off. They now had to deal with a centralized imperial state that was collecting taxes more efficiently, giving more power to landlords, and slowly reducing customary peasant rights to land and produce.
New York City is famous for its ethnic diversity.
New York City is famous for ethnic diversity.
In spite the cold temperature, the sky is clear and blue.
In spite of cold temperature, the sky is clear and blue.
The visiting professor is going to give a lecture on geology.
A visiting professor is given the lecture on geology.
Eating too much can lead to many healthy problems.
Eating too much can lead to many healthy problems.
Words can't express how sad we are to hear of your loss.
Words can at least how sad we hear your loss.
Good research presents many benefits to real people.
Good research presents many
Portfolio
benefits
is due to the
real
Internal Review
people.
Office no later than Tuesday.
The circulation desk is located on the ground floor.
The circulation desk is located on the ground floor.
The technology they introduced meant that metal and leather goods were produced there for the first time.
The technology introduced many of the goods they introduced in the first time.
The seminar will now take place a week on Tuesday.
The seminar will now take place a week on Tuesday.
I've always been interested in biology and physics.
I always interested on biology and physics. Overseas visitors to three different areas in European countries between 1987 to 2007. Maximum is the cost in 2007 is around over 70,000. The minimum is the mountains, which is around 35. The picture shows the overseas visitors to three different areas in European countries between 1897 to 2007. It also provides information about the topic in different aspects, including the coast, the mountains, and the lakes. As can be seen from the picture, in 2007, the cost is the maximum, which is 75,000. On the other hand, the lake is the minimum, which is about 35,000 in 2007. In conclusion, the picture shows important information about the overseas visitors to three different areas in the European country between 1987 to 2007, including the coast, the mountains, and the lakes. Average annual earnings by education level in 2009. In 2009, professional degree, doctorate degree, master degrees, bachelor degrees, associate degrees, some college no degrees, high school graduate or GED, not high school graduates. The picture shows the average annual earnings by educational level in 2009. It also provides information about the topic in different aspects including professional degree, doctorate degree, master degrees, bachelor degrees, associate degrees, some college no degree, high school graduates or GED, and not high school graduates. As can be seen from the picture, professional degree is the maximum, which is over $1,000. On the other hand, not high school graduates is the minimum, which is just only $20,000. In conclusion, the picture shows average annual earnings by education level in 2009 about from professional degree, doctorate degree to not high school graduate. Employment rates by country from 1995 to 2005. 1995 male, 2005 male, 1995 female, and 2005 female. Australia, Switzerland, Iceland, UK, New Zealand, and USA. The picture shows the unemployment rates by country from 1995 to 2005. It also provides information about the topic in different aspects, including Australia, Switzerland, Iceland, UK, New Zealand, and USA, in male and female. As can be seen from the picture, in Iceland, the maximum in 2005 is male, which is about 80%. On the other hand, in UK, the minimum is 1995 female, which is about 50%. In conclusion, the picture shows important information about the unemployment rate. Employment rates by country from 1995 to 2005 in Australia, Switzerland, Iceland, UK, New Zealand, and USA. Teen drivers do that they take their eyes, their side, and focus off the road. The driver is checking on the cell phone. The driver is selecting music while driving. Music in the car is very loud. The driver and passenger are dancing and singing along the music. The picture shows teen drivers do they take their eyes and focus off the road. It also provides information about a topic in different aspects, including the witness often or always make a lot of difference to safety. As can be seen from the picture, make a lot of difference to safety is the maximum in 79, which is about the driver is text messaging, play in a video game, or using some other kinds of handheld electronic device. On the other hand, the minimum is about 13% belong to the driver is selecting the music while driving, with the witness of always about 52%. In conclusion, the picture shows important information about the teen driver do that they take their eyes and focus off the road. Housing starts versus the employment rate. The employment rate. Housing starts and the employment rate units per year. Unemployment rate 60% from 1981 to 2011. The maximum is around housing start. The picture shows the housing start versus the employment rate. It also provides information about the topic in different aspects, including the housing starts and employment rates from 1891 from 2011. As can be seen from the picture, in 2011, the maximum unemployment rate about 62%. On the other hand, the minimum for the housing start in 1981, which is around 125,000. In conclusion, the picture shows important information about the housing starts versus the employment rates from 1891 to 2001, and the housing start is displayed in blue color and the unemployment rate in red color.
In Paris, but there was no modern lit. Wilson came then from a different world, and he became the focal point of a broad mainstream American culture that thought that modern literature and wanted modern literature to be able to be read and appreciated by ordinary people. They were not modernists in an abstract sense, and certainly some of them, like T.S. Eliot and Faulkner, were too difficult for some of their writings to be read by ordinary people, but this was a world before the division between the brows or between elite or whatever had established itself as part of our consciousness. Wilson was a major player in the successful effort of his generation to establish at the heart of American life an innovative literature that would equal the great cultures of Europe. And he knew that the great cultures of Europe were there. He was not a product of a narrow American studies kind of training at all. He joined a high artistic standard with an openness to all experience and a belief that literature was as much a part of life for everyone as conversation. He thought that Proust and Joyce and Yeats and Eliot could and should be read by ordinary Americans and helped that to happen. Wilson was a very various man. Over a period of almost 50 years, he was a literary journalist, an investigative reporter, a brilliant memoirist, and dedicated journal keeper. His biographical histories to the Finland Station and
The lecture mainly talked about the Wilson, who is bringing the American culture to everybody. First of all, Wilson is the famous people in 50 years in his era, is a dedicated journal keeper. Moreover, in the different world, he also bring the mainstream to American culture, bring the modern literature available for everyone. Later on, he also talk about make the American culture to read about for the ordinary people and change the vision between the brown and between the people as well. In conclusion, the lecture mainly talk about the Wilson with bring the literature to the rich culture.
This is a 40-watt light bulb. If you leave it on all the time, it uses 1 kilowatt-hour every day, and it's possible to express all forms of power consumption using this unit of the light bulb. I started measuring everything around my house, around my office, and I found some surprising things. First, I plugged in a phone charger, and it didn't even register on this power meter. It uses 1/100th of a light bulb of power. So I don't think the phone charger is going to be our #1 form of energy consumption. Just taking 1 hot bath every day uses the same energy, the same power as 5 light bulbs on all the time, non-stop. And I found I've been steadily using 40 light bulbs worth of gas for heating, making hot air and hot water, and that surprised me. Transport is one of the biggest forms of energy consumption. It uses about 1/3 of our energy. If you drive an average car 50 kilometers a day, that corresponds to having 40 light bulbs on all the time. Today, the average British person is using 125 light bulbs of power. That's 125 light bulbs on all the time, non-stop. That's huge.
The lecture mainly talked about measuring the power consumption by using 40 light bulbs. First of all, the lecturer tried to measuring everything in his house and office. The first one is the phone charger. It consumes 100 light bulbs per day, and this may be the #1 for the consumption. Moreover, he also talked about the hot bath using 5 light bulbs and non-stoppable, and also using the 40 light bulbs to heating gas for the bathing. And in the right transportation, also the biggest form of the energy consumption. In conclusion, it more talk about if we drive in a car with 50 kilo per day, it's using 40 light bulbs every day.
In the early years of ATM machines, there were many complaints with the ATMs. The ATM machine is programmed to allow a customer to collect their money first and then take their card. However, This made many people forget their cards, and it was a worrying issue because anyone could have the access to one's bank account. Now, in the UK, the ATM machines have been reprogrammed so that customers will take their card first and then collect their money. As a result, it would be less likely for them to forget the money, since that was the main reason for them to use an ATM. Although people sometimes still forget to take their money, it is more catastrophic to lose your card because it can access to your bank account.
The lecture mainly talked about the ATM. First of all, the ATM was installed with the get many complaints because the people will get the money first and then get the cash. This will let them to forget the cash, and they have less for everyone to access to their bank accounts. And later on in the UK, the ATM will be reprogrammed, and the customer will collect the cash first and then the monies. It will likely for them to forget about the cash. But later on, in conclusion, he also talked about sometimes they forgot to protect the cash, and this is more catastrophe for people to access the bank account. And this also talk about the ATM.
$205. What is the money that people pay to the government?
It's the tax. Tax. Penalty rate.
$154. What can be added to a drink to cool it down on a hot day?
Ice. Thì ra là nó có cái số.
88. What do we call the alphabetical at the end of the book that tells you where to find specific information?
Index.
87. What is the collective term for cows and bulls, especially on the farm?
Cattle.
284. A butterfly is shown in an image. How does the butterfly fly?
Swing that fly. Moving swing. Swing moving.
105. A person who hates woman.
A person who hates women. A man. Womanism. Manism.
12. At what ceremony the students receive their degree or diploma at end of their study?
Graduation ceremony.
111. What key mineral makes sea water different from fresh water?
Salt.
20. What do people wear if they can't see very well?
Glasses. Prescription glasses.
100. Morning prayer in church?
Sunday.